Hi, my name is Mary Spender, and welcome to Tuesday Talks. This week's guest is musician, comedian, and YouTuber Danny Sapko. Let's get into it.
Mary Spender, spend a little time with me.
Tuesday Talks. Okay, well, I'm going to begin with something that I've only recently discovered about you, and I'm going to say it and then see your reaction. Bantam of the Opera.
Oh, bloody hell. It's a very strange one because it's very sort of, I won't say it's out of character because I love musical theatre sort of secretly. And so, I'm singing a bit of operatic stuff and a bit of sort of choir stuff. And yeah, I'm meant to be the guy in spiky bracelets and stuff. So I've kind of been keeping it a bit quiet, but at the same time I've been very proud of what we've done, so I had to tell the world about it. How did you find out?
Well, I think I was doing my research, and you mentioned Bantam of the Opera in an interview just briefly that had been picked up by the BBC.
Yeah.
And was it because 2025 Bradford was the UK's city of culture?
Yeah.
So is that how it sort of started off, and then BBC singers got involved? And
yeah, that's right.
Is that right?
So it was, for me it was like the best thing about the city of culture. I didn't feel very included in a lot of it, but this was like amazing because I love football and I love music. And we did, it just got bigger and bigger. We started off just doing a couple of performances, and then next thing we were like down with like the BBC Symphony Orchestra, and then the King wanted to meet us, and then it was mad. And then the big finale was Sports Personality of the Year. We sang live on that, and so it was meant to be this very somber. I don't know if you ever heard about the Bradford City fire. It was a disaster 40 years ago. So we were singing a song for that, but it was a very somber occasion and whatever, but I was just so pleased to be there. And I got a comment on YouTube when this was uploaded, and some guy says, "Who was that guy in a hat grinning like a shot fox?" And that was me.
Well, can you explain to those who don't know what it is, what exactly the choir is and the name?
Yeah, well, basically, I said this as a joke to start off with, that someone in the BBC thought, Bradford City is the Bantam of the Opera. Like, that's a good name. Let's find something that fits. I then found out that's exactly what happened. They were just like, yeah, this is good. This is a good project for City of Culture. So we just started off building this choir. There was sort of 500 people applied, and then me and my partner Kira, we both got in sort of separately, and it was because it was a few Bradford musicians there as well, so we knew a lot of people there. But it's just been the most incredible year. It's been absolutely brilliant, and a few people have sort of said, like, what the hell is Danny doing on daytime TV, singing Christmas songs in a choir and stuff. But that is the sort of thing that I do enjoy doing outside the authentic punk rock image.
Well, in the Scott's Bass Lessons interview that you did, you mentioned classical singing, and actually, did you have lessons at school, or?
What happened was I went to York St John University. I'd got into Leeds College of Music, but I found that it was going to be a lot of work, and I wanted a lot of more of free time and stuff. So I went to York St John, and I started off just doing I think guitar or bass mainly is like my first study, because it's like a performance-based course. And one of the guys, I joined like a chamber choir, and the guy that was running it tried to catch me out in my audition, and he said, just sing a diminished arpeggio for me. And I did it. It wasn't easy. Like, this is the sort of thing I really kind of struggle with. And he was like, you can sing then. I was like, well, I'm all right. And so he put me forward for to be first study vocalist. So I did like some, real operatic and sort of classical pieces. And I got trained by someone who specialises in tenor singing. So I had 3 years of like the best vocal lessons ever. And And, I don't really use it much nowadays, apart from in Bantam of the Opera.
Moving on to particularly some of the topics that you broach in your long form content and your short form too. I don't know how you manage to, I would feel really scared all the time of, maybe I'm just a bit too nice. I can't really criticize people I've criticized record labels, I've criticized Spotify, the man, but I'm not very good at actually calling people out. And some of I think the reason I love you is because you say things that I wish I could say.
Well, yeah, I am an absolute headache for my manager and my partner who, she just lets me get on with the creative side. But really, I have to almost hide things from her because I know that if I said, "Oh, I'm just going to say this next week," it would be like, no, So,
right.
So yeah, I don't know if you can tell this or what, but I am secretly a very nice person. I'm not a complete bastard like I appear in my videos. However, I have no problem, when I find someone that I absolutely disagree with, calling them out on it. And I think, I think you've got to be fairly careful with it. Like, I don't necessarily enjoy doing those sort of things. If I could just get the same amount of views for just something I was playing or singing or talking about, like, I'd be much happier. I always feel much happier when I can, I'll watch videos back of me playing or whatever. I don't watch the videos back and enjoy when I'm, like, shouting rude words at someone that's done something horrible, It's, but the drama videos get the views. People seem to love that sort of thing, especially now at the moment. And it's not a case of, like, I'm thinking I'm looking for the next drama, I'm looking for the next person to take down. I'll really study, like, a case, and I'll be like, oh, should I take this on? Yeah, maybe I should. And I think maybe it could backfire in the future. I think I've got to be really careful and get enough evidence of people that I disagree with, because I don't want to, if I cast someone in a terrible light and it turns out that that's not the case, then, I wouldn't be happy with myself. Audience wouldn't be happy with me. But I do
think that comes through, because some of the within the Giacomo Tura debacle, some of the things you said, and the reason why I was like, oh, I really actually trust this guy is because you would say, if you do just actually want to have a career, we'll accept you if you just admit to what you've done. And I was like, wow, that's even actually nicer than I would be. Like, I would literally be like, this industry is competitive enough that, and the music community is so small that it is super hard to get a fresh start. It's totally possible if you're super talented and you just really just made one mistake. That's it. But 5 years of continuous lying.
I honestly think he's just one of these people that just can't write, doesn't have that creative side. And I've met people like that before. When I was in university, they brought in a violin player. It was like this expert classical player. And me being a bit of a knob, just sort of said to him at the end, I was like, oh, can you just sort of improvise a bit for me? And they couldn't improvise. They couldn't play anything unless it was written down there in front of them. And I feel like he's got a bit of that. I really do.
Well, I can understand that, because I did viola at university and I was also in a chamber choir and sang and stuff. But I couldn't. And with guitar, I was sort of self-taught, and it was like my hobby to break away from the classical music training that I found so rigorous and structured and brutal. And getting to do it at university was amazing, but I was just wrestling all the time, being like, I just want to write singer-songwriter songs and just play my acoustic guitar. And it wasn't really until I started to learn to improvise on guitar badly, I still am terrible, that I could then go back to the piano. And even now, I can improvise better on piano after years of not playing than I could when I was playing. So there is something about classical music, which I don't know how he began, or if it was funk guitar, or maybe it was classical guitar, or something, maybe to put that sort of block in your brain. But to then try and build a career on something that you actually can't do, that's just, it sounds really exhausting to me. I mean, this is why I'm quite proud, and I don't really mind people hating on my music or just deciding it's not for them, and they can have my talking videos and they don't have to listen to the original music, because I'd much rather they just go, oh, you know what? No, rather than them think that I'm something that I'm not. Like, I love to just not completely polish my performances, and also sometimes just time constraints with the YouTube delivery system of, like, sometimes you've just got to let something go and get online to be able to just move on, and it just can't be perfect. And this whole sort of like, oh well, I felt the need to always up my game, and this sort of like excuse, I'm kind of like, you know what, then you knew you were always going to fail at some point, because you can't, like, no one can do that. No one can be expected to be perfect and level up each time.
I think, in all honesty, like, what people didn't seem to talk about as much with that, and this could have been enough for the whole video, was just he used to get small guitar builders to send him, expensive hand-built instruments, and then promise he'd do a load of videos and whatever, and then send them back. He'd do one video and then just sell them off, and he had this store where he'd do that over and over again. And I was like, if nothing else, if it wasn't the stealing of songs, the, God knows whatever else he did, I can hardly remember, it's been that long now, but it was like everything that he did, like, that would have been enough for me. And there's, people that are still out of pocket that have built these guitars that have, lost them. But it is quite funny, because I don't think that the Giacomo thing was the biggest sort of scandal that I kind of revealed, because about a couple of months before, there was this whole, it was called Bass Review Magazine, and there was this show that they were putting on, and I called this out because I found out that this was all had serious problems, and people were going to lose a serious amount of money and whatever with it. And I managed to sort it all out, and it ended up getting cancelled, did this show, because I knew there was a lot of problems with it, and I had to, like, ring up people from France and Australia saying, like, cancel your tickets, like, this show's not going ahead. And I found out that the guy was using a fake name and using all these fake businesses and stuff like that. And no one seems to remember that one as much as the Giacomo thing. And people now, I'm getting to the point where I'm just a little bit getting sick of it, because people will say to me, like, oh, you, Danny, if I meet him somewhere, and I say, yeah. And they'll say, oh, well done on the Giacomo thing. And it was lovely, it's great. I'm really pleased that, people agree with me and stuff. But I'm just like, I wish they were saying, oh, you're a great musician, I love your content. It's almost always, oh, well done on the Giacomo thing. But then they say, let me buy you a drink, and then everything's all right again.
Well, and I guess this is, again, it's something I think about a lot, and again, why I was interested in having you on, because I feel like there's a lot... So whether it's Giacomo, whether it's you, whether it's me, there's a lot that you have to decide to do as a musician now. But there's also a line of all the things that you shouldn't do. And I've been doing this for eight years and 5 years full time, or maybe almost 6 years full time. And there's I I s- I don't know how to describe, like sometimes I just tangle myself in knots about some of the things that I want to do but have to decide not to do, or some of the things I want to talk about and then have to decide not to do, or like how much you bring someone into stuff and how much you don't reveal your personal life or private life or where you live, and so many there's a lot to navigate, and there's no rule book. And I guess with you, with the Giacomo thing, I'm there, you're sort of almost helping create a rule book, like, hey, this guy crossed the line, I'm presenting it as evidence, this is what not to do. Like, don't lie, don't scam people. I feel like there was a lot of, if he was fraudulent in his music, I also feel like he wasn't earning as much money as everyone maybe alluded to. The hundreds of thousands of views, I don't think equated to much. And I think that's probably why he was maybe a bit desperate to prove that he was like this hot rock star kind of guy, and, flaunting the sports car even now. I'm like, I bet he didn't buy it in cash, There's just so much like sort of fraudulent thing around that, which I also have to sort of say, you do have to look at the content that you make. And I say this about myself, especially like complaining about the record label industry, the traditional music industry. And it's like, do I want to go viral for this thing? And I guess the vote of confidence that I have in you is that you are a trained musician. You have a high standard. The views are really lovely. I love getting views too. My God, it's completely addictive. The YouTube Studio app is completely addictive. Yeah. But I just took a hit for enough time to build the foundation of the business that now I can make music out of my make money out of my original music, and I can make the music that I want to make rather than I feel like I should make. So there is this sort of like, maybe you could be running two things in tandem, like one for the views, one for me. Maybe like even you'll sacrifice 3 days of your week being like, oh yeah, okay, these ones aren't going to do well. But I feel like you have the power to teach your audience what they want, because they don't know what they want until they know they don't want it. And actually seeing someone play bass well, they will want that, because that's like, we all want great artists.
Yeah, it is. I think at the moment I'm just getting to the point now where I can really start to find that balance, because the last 2 years has just been, YouTube is my main source of income. I don't really have anything on the side. I've just been so kind of focused on getting the views, and now I'm starting to find that balance where I know if I just play an instrument, it's not going to get as many views as me calling someone a dipstick, but I want to do it more for me, and almost in a selfish way, because I want to be recognised more as a musician, and not as a guy who takes other people down, or even as just a YouTuber. I want to be musician first, YouTuber second. And I'm actually, in a few days' time, I'm going live on stage with Justin Hawkins at his show, right? He's doing like a theatre tour. He knows of you, by the way. I mentioned you, and he is
really?
aware. Oh, yeah. And so...
What a compliment. Oh my God, I hope I'm nervous now. I'm like, oh God, I really hope he doesn't not like me. Oh God. He
said, oh yeah, she's the one that sings Adele in the shower with the bottle of the wine. No, he didn't.
You had me there. I did, again, in the research, I did watch that interview. I think it was the first interview you did. And I was there thinking, I was like, it's so funny that he's on YouTube. And I've been watching his channel since it happened. And I really love how one of his recent videos about him talking about his car crash interview.
Yeah.
And I was like, bloody hell, like, he's done it. He did. He is the most qualified in the YouTube space in terms of YouTuber musician space. He's done everything. The number ones, the arenas, the stadiums, like the Christmas song, like everything. And here he is talking about all the crap that goes into being a rock star.
Yeah.
And how much stuff you for the shiny moments on stage or on TV, how much, excuse my language, audience, bullshit there is. And he actually made me feel a lot better, because I also battle with do people see me as a YouTuber or do they see me as a musician? Maybe they see me as a almost budget musician because I'm spending a lot of time making YouTube videos, but actually YouTube allows me the time and freedom to make the music that I want to be making, and gives me the time when I go through a spell of no songwriting to still be creative, and which I would have whether or not I was just being a singer-songwriter. And he made me feel so much better about my day job that actually recently it all just clicked for me. And I was like, I get to not have to do the stuff I don't want to do. I get to do all the things I just want to do. I know there's fame and fortune, and I'm sure that the fortune is pretty nice. I'm sure the fame is pretty nice. But actually, I can only do so much with my 24 hours. And so, yeah, him teaching me that's just off on a whim. I was like, I'm so glad he's in the space. And then adding credibility to it, because he did all of it. He's done all of it and is still doing all of it. That, maybe some of us lower down the scale YouTubers are dreaming of doing one day. But then he's also saying, hey, grass is greener.
Yeah, absolutely. And he is absolutely his authentic self as well. It's like when I've done interviews with him, like he'll sit and chat afterwards, for 20 minutes talking about everything, and I'm thinking I'm wasting his time and whatever, and it's like, no, you can't bloody get rid of him. He just wants to talk and talk. And even yesterday we just had like a Zoom call just to like talk about a few things and whatever, and he's just there, and he had a leopard skin dressing gown and his shades, and he just got out of bed, and he said, oh, sorry, I'm just putting the bins out. He put the bins out and then came to chat about stuff. He's so down to earth. But anyway, the whole thing I was saying was that he's very clearly a musician first and a YouTuber second, whereas I feel like I'm the other way around at the moment. So I want to be known more as a musician and not a YouTuber, and that is my goal for this year.
I don't know firstly, he had the advantage of I was 12. I Believe in a Thing Called Love was like one of the first guitar solos I learned on guitar, and I was 12. I'm 35. So he's had the benefit of, like, before YouTubing was even a thing, he had the career. Like, he was on Top of the Pops. Like, so, and we don't have that luxury. And I think I was actually doing a bit of research into why are all musicians so insecure? Because I was just literally thinking about myself, and I was like, wow, at 35 to be insecure, is it cute anymore? Like, should I just be like getting over this sort of thing? And I was like just doing some deep dive into studies of why musicians do have this sort of like chip on their shoulder, particularly successful ones. And I don't know, there's something about YouTuber, musician. I don't know if people really care anymore.
Yeah.
We care.
Yeah.
But other people see, kids nowadays don't want to be rock stars, they want to be YouTubers.
Yeah.
So to some people, calling you a YouTuber is a compliment, because you think of the billion hours of content that's uploaded every hour.
Yeah.
To make a full-time living from this thing, that is so outrageous, really. Like, it's more outrageous making a living from this than most other things.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many hours that they could be spending their time, your audience could be spending their time watching someone else. The amount of creators that are now over 1 million subscribers that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
but they have these huge audiences. You're like, okay, this is a very competitive field. Musician, yeah, it takes original music, doesn't it? Like if you want to be seen or as a musician, then you need to be building that side of yourself. So it wouldn't be, it's not that hard for you to be able to do that, especially with the band. And then also being on stage with Justin Hawkins, like, I don't know how, if you don't mind me asking, this might be very rude of me, how old are you?
32.
You're 32?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you think about it, Justin Hawkins, like
Oh, yeah.
We're British. Like, he is a huge rock star, and you're on stage, you're going on stage with a rock star.
Well,
so
let me tell you something. The first interview I did with him, like, his manager talked to my manager afterwards and was just like, a few things I'm going to cut out here. It says, like, there's been a load of stuff like Danny just sort of really sort of, doing a lot of Justin worship and talking about having his picture on his wall when he was younger. And it's like, I'm going to cut all that out. Justin's ego's big enough for that. And there was even an amazing quote that I remember from Kerrang magazine when I was younger, right? They didn't put this in. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. So he did a thing, like during the darkness, it was called British Whale. That was his side project called British Whale, about 2006, something like that. And I remember this quote because I thought it was absolutely brilliant and I wrote it down. I've still got a book of quotes that I still go to nowadays on YouTube when I need something funny to say. I've like developed all these quotes over the years. So his project was called British Whale, and the interviewer from Kerrang was asking him. They were like, "Oh, you've done The Darkness. What was the inspiration behind British Whale?" And he said, "I was lacking porpoise." And I thought that was absolutely genius. I mentioned that to him in his interview, and they didn't even put it in. I feel like he's too afraid to like sort of almost reveal how brilliant he is.
Oh my God. No, I mean, he seems quite sort of cerebral and super intelligent, and the way he talks around things, like, yeah, I'm very happy he's in the space. I was a bit taken aback when I first sort of saw him uploading.
Yeah.
But okay, so what are you doing for him?
So it's basically, so we've got the band The Melancholies. I think at first when he first asked me, I was just going to go up there and have a bit of a chat about my YouTube stuff and whatever. But since then, we've got this band together, and he's really seems to enjoy it. It's a really silly sort of band. We're all a bit out of place. Like, I'm playing guitar in it and stuff, and we're writing some quite almost not comedy songs, but very down-to-earth songs. And so the one we're featuring, so it's this in a few days' time, and it's called Put Your Bins In For The Lads. And so it's about people leaving the bins out, basically. And he was like, "Oh, have you got a video for it?" And I was like, "Oh, no." But so we're getting together in the next few days and shooting a video, and whatever we have, we're putting it out, premiering it live at his show, and then it's going to go out onto YouTube. So my task for the next few days, I don't know if I should tell you this. Yeah, I'm going to tell you this. My task for the next few days is to acquire a few bins from around the local area to shoot this video.
Right, okay.
I don't think it's criminal, isn't that? That's just like Bradford Council wouldn't be happy. I'm going to return them.
Can you just put a note through people's door being like, "I've taken your bin."
Absolutely. It'll be back soon. Yeah.
It'll be back.
Like a ransom note. Yeah.
Thanks for watching so far. If you're craving the complete conversation, well, then it lives on Nebula. Most platforms are built for speed. Short clips, fast turnover, attention shaved down to the bone. They're convenient, but they're not designed for long conversations, deep work, or the people making them. You don't really own your creative life there. You rent it briefly. Nebula is different. It's a creator-owned streaming platform built so filmmakers like me can make work properly. No ads, no pressure to cut for time, no algorithm deciding what survives, just the full work, exactly as it was meant to be seen. On Nebula, you can watch this conversation in its entire form, alongside my most in-depth films and extended interviews, the pieces that don't belong in a distracted scroll, longer cuts, more context, and space to actually finish a thought. And because Nebula is creator-run, watching there directly supports the people making the work, not a faceless middle layer, not fractional royalties disappearing into wherever. Real support for long-form storytelling. You can try Nebula free with no payment details required and start watching immediately. If you want the full conversation and more work made for depth rather than speed, use the link below or scan the QR code on screen. And I'll see you over on Nebula.